All right, let's dive in. Today, we're taking a tour of the command center of life itself, the nucleus. I mean, this tiny little thing holds the key to everything, from your eye color to how you heal from a cut. So, yeah, let's get into it.
So what is it? Well, the easiest way to think about it is like this. The nucleus is the brain of the cell. Seriously. It's the central command post, the CEO. It holds all the blueprints for life and basically acts as the ultimate microscopic manager. It's the one calling the shots on when the cell grows, when it repairs itself, or even when it divides.
So let's get a little more specific. What is this thing? The nucleus is what scientists call an organelle. You can just think of that as a tiny organ inside the cell with a super specific job. And the main job of the nucleus? To house and, most importantly, protect the cell's absolutely vital genetic material.
And that protection is no joke. The whole castle analogy is actually perfect here. The nucleus is wrapped in a double-layered wall called the nuclear membrane. It really does act like these super high castle walls, keeping that precious genetic blueprint safe and sound from all the chaos happening out in the rest of the cell.
Okay, so we've got this biological fortress. But what's actually inside? What's so incredibly important that it needs this kind of Fort Knox level security? Well, it's pretty much the blueprint for life itself. And that blueprint is, of course, DNA, short for deoxyribonucleic acid. And listen, this isn't just some boring molecule. It's the ultimate instruction book. It has every single command the cell will ever need for everything from building proteins to just doing its normal everyday job. But here's a cool thing. DNA doesn't just hang out in one form. Most of the time, it's in a state called chromatin. And you can picture this like a messy plate of spaghetti. It's all loose and jumbled up. This makes it super easy for the cell to get in there and read the instructions it needs. But when it's time for the cell to divide, that's a different story. The DNA packs itself up incredibly tightly into these neat little structures we call chromosomes. This is just to make sure a perfect, complete copy gets passed on to the new cell. And that's not all that's inside the nucleus. There's another really important structure in there called the nucleolus. If the nucleus is the main office, the nucleolus is kind of like the factory foreman. Its whole job is to build ribosomes, and ribosomes are the cell's little protein-building machines. They're the workers on the factory floor. Okay, so we know what's in the nucleus, but how does it actually, manage everything? A good manager doesn't do all the work themselves, right? They delegate. And that's exactly what the nucleus does. It's all about communication and control. So check out this chain of command. It's super efficient. First, the nucleus writes down a message. It makes a little copy of a specific instruction from the DNA blueprint, and this copy is called RNA. Step 2. This RNA message gets sent out of the nucleus through these tiny little gates in the wall. Then, step 3. Out in the main part of the cell, what we call the cytoplasm, one of those ribosomes we just talked about grabs the message and reads it. And finally, step 4. The ribosome gets to work. It starts building the exact protein that the instructions called for. It's just a flawless system of getting things done. You see, the nucleus really is the ultimate CEO. It's not on the factory floor building things. Nope, it stays in the main office, holds the master plan, the DNA, and just sends out memos and instructions. It directs all the workers, the ribosomes and other organelles, to handle all the day-to-day stuff. Growth, repair, making new cells, the whole shebang. And that, right there, is why that protective castle wall we talked about is so unbelievably important. Think about it. If that master blueprint, the DNA, gets damaged or corrupted in any way, the instructions the cell gets will be wrong. They'll be faulty. And this can cause the cell to malfunction, which, when you get right down to it, is the root cause of so many diseases. So yeah, the nucleus is literally the guardian of our health at the most basic level possible. Now, while pretty much all complex cells have a nucleus, it doesn't always look or act exactly the same. So let's do a quick comparison between plant and animal cells to see what I mean. Okay, so in animal cells, like ours, the nucleus usually hangs out right near the center. Kind of makes sense, right? But in plant cells, there's this huge water storage sac called a central vacuole, and it's so big that it literally shoves the nucleus over to the side. And the plant cell nucleus has an extra item on its to-do list. It also has to manage photosynthesis. The whole process of turning sunlight into energy. All right, now let's get to some of my favorite stuff, some truly mind-blowing facts about the nucleus. I promise, these numbers are going to give you a whole new appreciation for just how complex this thing is. Okay,
Get ready for this, because it's wild. If you took the DNA from just one of your cells, one single cell, and stretched it out, it would be 6 feet long. 6 feet. That's probably taller than you are. And all of that is packed into a space so small you need a powerful microscope to see it. It's just an incredible feat of biological engineering. And what's on that 6 feet of DNA? Well, there are about 20,000 genes, and each gene is basically a single instruction. These are the instructions that determine literally everything about you. We're talking eye color, hair color, and even how your body fights off a simple cold.
And, of course, just when you think you have the rules down, biology loves to throw in some exceptions. For example, your red blood cells, to make more room for carrying oxygen, once they're mature, they actually just kick out their nucleus entirely. It's gone. But then on the flip side, you have cells like your long, powerful muscle cells. They're so big and complex that one nucleus isn't enough. They actually have multiple nuclei, just to keep the whole operation running smoothly.
So let's just sum this all up. What's the big takeaway? The nucleus is the cell's protected control center. It's the vault that stores our DNA, the master blueprint of life. And it's the manager that uses those blueprints to direct every single thing the cell does. It's what keeps us alive and functioning. And that leaves us with one final, pretty big thought. We've called the nucleus the cell's brain, right? The manager, the guardian. So what happens when that brain makes a mistake? What happens when it sends out the wrong order? Or when that precious blueprint it's guarding gets smudged or torn? Well, when you start asking that question, that's when you start to understand the very origin of so many genetic disorders and diseases. Really makes you think, doesn't it?